Another story time episode today, and this kind of ties in with the story from my yesterday's video. But this is a story of how I got my first girlfriend. Now, I want to lay the foundation, the history, the knowledge of my past self. So, anyway, with this being said, I really am never gone on my way to ask a girl out or do anything like that. I'm honestly really bad with starting up relationships. So when I really found interest in this one girl and I really wanted to ask her out, it took me like 2 months to build the courage to just text her to ask her to do something. So anyway, I was kind of in a rough place in my life when and if you watch the last video, it really ties in with that. So I was in a rough place and I asked this girl out and she said no. Okay, whatever. She said that she was going on like spring break. It was during spring break, so she said she was gone for spring break, so she couldn't. But blah 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 blah. And anyway, I want to also harp on this. If a guys, girls, whatever, if you text somebody, ask them out, and they say like, or if you're the person receiving this and you're interested or not interested, here's the best way to respond to it. And I think this is what most people should do. If they respond and be like, I can't right now, I'm doing blah 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 blah, it's most likely they're not interested. But if they say, but maybe another time, or dang, I really wish I could do this, or something of that nature, then I would say they're interested. Maybe try again another time. But if they don't really like carry it on or continue the conversation in any sort of way, then just kind of like cut it off, I would say, to be honest. But that's just my opinion. That's just my point. But that's it. So let's get back with the story, I guess. So anyway, she said no. Then it was about, I would say, a week or two later, I asked her out again. And she said no. She did not want to go out. Wasn't, or it was at prom, actually. It was at prom. I asked her out again after prom. We talked a little bit throughout the night and blah, 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 blah. And I asked her out when I got back home. It was like 3 in the morning. I really wasn't expecting a response. And then I was like, setting my phone down, was talking to my buddy. We were just talking, having a good time at his house. And then she texted back. She actually texted back and she said no. She said she didn't want to, whatever. So after that, I was like, and this was like during my weight loss journey. So again, if you're view the channel a lot, you'll understand that ties in with the other video how I was addicted to Oreos. So I was still like losing weight at the time, and this just drove me even further to do this. But anyway, after she said no, I was kind of a dick and an asshole to her after that. Again, we had a class together. This is the main way how I got to know her. And we had a class together, and I really couldn't believe anyway, I literally like didn't talk to her for like 3 days straight. I wasn't like I was avoiding her necessarily, what I kind of was, but it was almost like I would just not try to talk to her. Like I wasn't avoiding her, I just wasn't really trying to talk to her. So anyway, it goes like a week past, and we're in this club together, and we managed to sit next to each other, and we had just had this great conversation. Really, just again, I really value a friendship with a person, like a female or anybody of the opposite sex, I guess I should say. And goes for everybody. So I honestly do believe men and women can be friends. I know some people don't, so that's just kind of why I'm saying that. But so I just really valued our friendship. Wasn't really gonna ask her out again. Really kind of wasn't. I was kind of losing interest in being in a relationship with her. But I was really happy that we were friends again. Like we were great friends, even better friends at this point. But I wasn't gonna ask her out again. So anyway, I've already been rejected twice, and she gets my number from one of her friends. So I was like, oh, okay, that's kind of weird, but I just didn't really think anything of it. And it was just kind of back to this. Again, this is something I kind of mentioned at the first start of the video. I didn't really think much of it. I don't usually think much of these things like with women and flirting and many things like that. I just always look at things as a friendship. And that's really all I do. And maybe that's a bad thing. Maybe that's a good thing. I don't really know. But I didn't really think much of it at the end of the day. So she was texting me, asking me some questions about like what we did in class because she missed class. I was just telling her, let her know. And we kind of kept talking basically every night, like just text and stuff like that. We basically texted like every night. And then one day she texted me. And this was the funniest part. She she ran track and she like broke her ankle. Like it was a terrible injury. And she was texting me this and saying how bad it was. And she was like, and she was like, yeah, I'm on so many drugs right now. I really don't know how much pain I'm in. I'm in the hospital, blah, 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 blah. And then she asked me to go on a date. And I was like, I just, the main thing I wanted to respond with was like, well, how much drugs are you on to just ask me out on a date like that? So I thought that was really funny. That's why I was mentioning it. So anyway, after that, we go on a date. It goes great. We date for a couple, like 3 or 4 months, and then we break up. So at the end of the story, at the end of the day, I just think this is a funny story to talk about. It's still a funny story to talk about to the end of the day. I still people bring it up to me, and it's just I think it was just a funny way how all this turned out and how I really kind of we started dating. It was just a lot of jumping through loops and holes and a lot of things like that. And you know what? I'm not really mad we broke up. I think it was definitely for the best, and I still view her as a friend. I think this is something also that people who are in relationships where you can see both sides of it, where you can't be friends after or you can be friends after. I legitimately believe that you can. I don't think it's really that big of a deal. I don't think it's really that deep to look into, to be honest. I just don't. I legitimately believe that, okay, again, it depends what happened in your relationship and a lot of that sort of situational things. But I legitimately believe just try to be friends at least and don't really try to make things awkward. Just be like, hey, how's it going? Blah, 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 blah. And treat him like a friend. So yeah, that's really about it. That's kind of the story how I got my first girlfriend. Still haven't had one since. Just a one man show, I guess. So yeah, that's really about it. And as always, have a great day.